The people you miss today might be the very reason you're not growing. That's a painful truth most people never realize until it's too late. Because when life gets lonely, most people panic. They start chasing attention, validation, and relationships just to fill the silence. But according to Stoicism, loneliness isn't a punishment, it's a test. A test that separates emotionally strong people from emotionally dependent ones. And if life has recently removed people from your path, don't rush to replace them. Because what feels like isolation today may be the exact thing that's building the strongest version of you. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why some of the most powerful people in history became powerful only after they learned how to stand completely alone. Rule 1, the moment life removes people, your real growth begins. Most people think growth happens when new opportunities arrive, when new friends appear, when a new relationship begins, or when life finally starts going their way. But Stoicism teaches something completely different. Some of the most important growth happens when life starts taking things away. Because removal creates clarity, and clarity creates transformation. Think about it when everyone is around you. It's easy to confuse noise with progress. It's easy to believe you're moving forward simply because you're busy. Your phone is constantly buzzing, your schedule is packed. Your attention is divided in 100 directions. But the moment life becomes quiet, something uncomfortable happens. You're finally forced to face yourself, and that's exactly why so many people fear being alone. Because solitude removes every distraction that was helping them avoid reality. Suddenly there's no one to blame, no one to impress, no one to entertain you. It's just you and the person you've become. And for many people, that's a frightening experience. But for a Stoic, it's an opportunity, because every great transformation starts with self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply, despite being one of the most powerful men in the world. He constantly sought moments of solitude, not because he hated people, but because he knew that wisdom grows in silence, not in chaos, and the same principle applies today. Maybe someone walked away from your life. Maybe a friendship ended, maybe a relationship collapsed. Maybe the people you expected to support you disappeared when you needed them most. And right now it feels like a loss. But what if it's actually a beginning? What if life is removing distractions so you can finally focus on becoming who you're meant to be? Because here's something nobody talks about. Many people remain weak because they're surrounded by comfort. They're constantly rescued from consequences, constantly reassured, constantly distracted. But when you're alone, there's nowhere to hide. And that's where growth accelerates. You start learning things about yourself that crowded rooms could never teach you. You discover your real values, your real priorities, your real strengths, and your real weaknesses. And while that process isn't easy, it's necessary. Because the strongest version of yourself isn't created when everyone is cheering for you. It's created when nobody is watching, when nobody is helping, and when nobody is coming to save you. And this realization leads directly to the next lesson. Because once solitude removes the distractions, it reveals something even more important. The hidden dependence that has been controlling your life for years. Rule 2. Being alone dependence that keeps you weak. The reason most people struggle with loneliness isn't because they're alone. It's because they've unknowingly become dependent. Dependent on attention, dependent on approval, dependent on having someone constantly reassure them that they're enough. And the scary part is that most people don't even realize it until the people he exposes around them disappear. Suddenly the compliments stop, the messages slow down, the invitations become less frequent, and an uncomfortable question starts appearing in their mind. Who am I when nobody's paying attention to me? And that's where Stoicism steps in with a lesson that can completely change your life. Because according to the Stoics, freedom begins when your emotional state no longer depends on things outside your control. And nothing exposes emotional dependence faster than solitude. Think about modern life. People check their phones dozens of times every day, hoping someone has noticed them, liked their post, replied to their message, or validated their existence in some way. And while there's nothing wrong with connection, there's a huge problem when your happiness depends on it. Because the moment you need validation, you give other people power over your emotions. And that's exactly why so many people feel broken when they're alone. They mistake the absence of attention for the absence of value. But those two things are not the same. Your worth doesn't increase because someone praises you, and it doesn't decrease because someone ignores you. Yet most people spend years living as if it does. That's why solitude becomes such a powerful teacher, because it forces you to develop internal confidence instead of borrowed confidence. Confidence that doesn't disappear when people leave. Confidence that doesn't collapse when someone criticizes you. Confidence that doesn't require applause to survive. And once you start building that kind of confidence, everything changes. You stop chasing people who don't respect you. You stop begging for attention. You stop lowering your standards just to avoid being alone. Because you finally understand something most people never learn. Being alone is far less painful than betraying yourself for acceptance. And once you reach that level of emotional independence, something remarkable begins to happen. The loneliness that once felt heavy starts feeling peaceful. The silence that once felt uncomfortable starts feeling empowering. And that's where solitude reveals its greatest gift, because in that silence, you finally begin hearing your own voice instead of everyone else. Rule 3. Silence is where your mind becomes strong. Most people think strength is built through action alone, working harder, pushing harder, staying busy every second of the day. But Stoicism teaches that some of the greatest strength is built in stillness, because a mind that cannot sit in silence is a mind that is controlled by distraction. And that's exactly why modern life feels so overwhelming for so many people. The moment silence appears, they reach for their phone. They open another app, they turn on another video, they search for another distraction. Because silence forces them to face thoughts they've been avoiding for years, thoughts about their future, their regrets, their fears, and their potential. But here's what most people never realize. Those thoughts aren't your enemy. Avoiding them is. Because every problem you refuse to confront gains power over you. Every fear you refuse to examine grows larger in the darkness. And every weakness you refuse to acknowledge quietly controls your decisions. That's why the Stoics valued solitude so deeply. They understood that silence creates awareness, and awareness creates wisdom. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that a person finds true peace not by escaping life, but by mastering their own mind. And that mastery cannot happen when you're constantly distracted. Think about the strongest people you've ever met. Truly strong people are rarely loud, rarely desperate for attention, rarely chasing every trend. Instead, they possess a calm presence, a grounded confidence that comes from understanding themselves. And that understanding is usually developed during long periods of reflection. Because silence teaches you how your mind works, it reveals your emotional triggers, your unhealthy patterns, your hidden insecurities, and your deepest desires. And while that process can be uncomfortable, it's also incredibly empowering, because once you understand your mind, you stop becoming its prisoner when anger appears. You recognize it before it controls you. When fear appears, you examine it instead of obeying it. When anxiety appears, you learn to observe it rather than letting it dominate your life. And over time, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes stronger, clearer, and more disciplined. Problems that once felt overwhelming begin feeling manageable. Emotional storms lose their ability to shake your foundation, and situations that once created panic begin creating focus instead. Because you've developed the skill that most people never acquire, the ability to remain calm inside your own head. And once that happens, solitude stops feeling like emptiness. It starts feeling like power, because you realize that while other people are constantly searching for peace outside themselves, you've learned how to create it within, and that inner peace prepares you for something even greater. Because once silence strengthens your mind, it begins revealing the direction your life is meant to take. Maybe life has been quieter lately. Maybe certain people have disappeared. Maybe the road feels lonelier than you expected. But after everything we've discussed today, you can see that being alone isn't always a sign that something is missing. Sometimes it's a sign that something powerful is being built. Because solitude teaches lessons that crowds never can. It teaches self-respect, emotional control, resilience, purpose, and inner peace. So the next time life gives you silence, don't rush to fill it. Use it, grow through it, learn from it, and trust that this season is shaping a stronger version of you. And if this message resonated with you, leave a comment below and share your experience with solitude. Subscribe to Stoic Spark for more powerful Stoic wisdom, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss a future lesson that can help you build a stronger mind and a stronger life. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay focused, and remember, the strongest roots grow in silence before anyone sees the tree.